Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Tuesday, October 21st. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast, stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
The fire started shortly after noon on Sunday. Neighbors report seeing smoke billowing from one of the top floor apartments. Firefighters pulled an unconscious man in his 60s from the building. They performed CPR, but he did not survive.
You know, someone died there. And I know I didn't know the person, and emotionally, that's hard.
The police arson squad is still investigating the cause of the fire, but suspect the victim may have intentionally set it in order to end his own life. The apartment building on Grand Boulevard near Saint Jacques is transitional housing for people who have experienced homelessness. The building is owned and operated by the nonprofit group Les Habitations Communautaires NDG, with social services provided by the Old Brewery Mission. In a statement, OBM's president, James Hughes, wrote, "It is with deep sadness that we learned of the death of one of the participants in our housing support service following a fire in a building on Grand Boulevard. Over the years, by providing him with psychological support at home, we had the privilege of forming a meaningful human connection with him." Hughes says additional support for residents is being made available.
Someone should take care of these persons because there are problems.
Manouk Verlin lives in the adjacent building and says the fire alarm goes off several times per month. So often, she says some residents have started ignoring it.
So there was one person that went outside and she saw the smoke, and then she went inside, knocked on the doors. That's a real fire, that's a real fire.
Others say there isn't enough support.
This building always has something going on. There's always somebody there's the fire department, the police, they're always here.
Les Habitations Communautaires NDG did not respond to CTV's request for an interview. Damage from the fire was contained to the one apartment and the roof. There were no other injuries. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Today's fall cleanup is a little bit more relaxed than the widespread recovery effort from just 7 months ago, following the terrible ice storm that crippled much of the province.
Trees coming down everywhere, branches across the road, power was out everywhere. Some people had no power for days. It was horrific.
That storm caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damages across the province. Downed trees and power lines made the cleanup long and expensive.
It was quite disruptive. Oh yes, very, very much so. It was one of the worst I think we've seen in years.
Tonight, the city of Barrie says after making sure roads were drivable and safe to travel, it focused on the massive cleanup itself for several months.
We took down about 5,000 trees. We had to prune 10,000 trees. So there was a lot of work to be done.
The city says forestry costs alone are pegged at $28 million as the city had to assess more than 46,000 damaged trees. Now the city says it's ready to begin its third and final stage of the cleanup.
Phase 3 is stumping and replanting. So the stumping has started already. So you may see people going around removing stumps.
Replanting as many as 5,000 trees will also be part of this final phase. The county of Simcoe says its final bill for the ice storm is still being calculated, but the county says it's applying for assistance from the government for $6.8 million. People who were affected by the storm say they won't soon forget its power and destruction.
My daughter's house was flooded and it's still not repaired, and it's just awful.
Now, the city has applied for financial assistance to help offset the high cost of that replanting process. It's expected to begin in the spring, and I'm told it could take years to complete. Rob Cooper, CTV News, Barrie.
Kaler is back in police custody, arrested just days after he was released from custody. Kaler was serving time after he was convicted of manslaughter in the 2013 choking death of his roommate, Mary Ann May. On Thursday, the Waterloo Regional Police Service issued a public alert that Kaler had completed his most recent sentence and was expected to live in Kitchener. According to police, in an affidavit in cooperation with the Crown Attorney, the WRPS Offender Management Unit requested that conditions be put on Kaler due to violence concerns.
The police can and do on occasion, although not really commonly, resort to Section 810. And that allows for a period of anywhere between 1 to 3 years, depends on what the concern is. And there are conditions attached to that.
The Parole Board of Canada had earlier heard when he was in a halfway home he became agitated, referred to his victim, Marianne May, in derogatory terms, and reenacted choking her by putting his hand on his own neck while describing the events that happened in 2013. The board noted that same night he got into a fight with another halfway house resident after he approached the resident's female friend.
There were some rather disturbing comments and actions made specifically in relation to the last offense. Maybe in hindsight, the Crown would say, well, maybe we should have applied for a long-term offender or a dangerous offender on this person. But you can't do that post facto.
Kaler signed a recognizance to keep the peace that included conditions for the next 18 months. The conditions included notifying immediately of any change in address, making no attempt to contact directly or indirectly with any past victims or family members of the victims or witnesses in the cases he was convicted. He was also to abide by a curfew and remain in his residence between 11 at night to 5 in the morning, and to abstain from purchasing or consuming any alcoholic beverage or controlled substances unless prescribed by an Ontario physician. But on Friday, a day after his release, officers arrested Kaler for allegedly breaching his conditional release to abstain from purchasing or consuming alcoholic or controlled substances.
Then there'd be a hearing to see if in fact that has happened. And if it's found that there has been this breach, then the breach of that condition is a criminal offense.
Now, Kaler was remanded into custody and was set to appear in court in Kitchener today. Schofield says if Kaler did breach his conditions, he could be placed on probation or put behind bars for up to 6 months. And this could continue happening as long as there are concerns about him being in the public.
Sunday morning, Andrew Goodsell was on his phone doing a radio interview when he heard shots fired about 50 feet from his tent.
Next thing you know, we hear 4 very loud bangs in the background, and I just kept on talking with the interview, kind of thinking I knew what it was, but then, at the same time, it's what am I going to do about it? And next thing you know, we hear all kinds of sirens.
Halifax police were called just before 10 in the morning to Lower Flynn Park in Halifax, a designated sheltering location by the municipality for those experiencing homelessness.
There was reports of a man found with gunshot wounds. A 30-year-old man was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries.
Police do not believe this shooting was random and no immediate threat to the general public. Police would not reveal if the victim was living at this encampment.
The investigation is ongoing. No arrests have been made at this time. But once again, I would like to repeat that we are looking for anyone from the public who has information and or dash cam footage from the area.
Mayor Andy Fillmore says incidents like this are unacceptable, and people in the area have shared their concerns about safety for themselves and their children. His solution is to close these encampments.
It really does underline the need that we get people indoors and that we continue to close encampments around the city. We're making good headway on that plan. We've closed University Avenue, we've closed Grand Parade, we've closed Geary Street in Dartmouth. We're in the process of closing Cogswell Park just off of Quimpool Road. And my understanding is that Lower Flynn Park is actually next.
When it comes to safety for those living here, Mayor Fillmore says there are daily check-ins, and Halifax police will maintain their patrols and increase if needed. Little comfort for those living here.
The problem with going outside of your tent in a situation like that is that you're likely to become part of the situation. So to stay safe, keep your head down and pray that a bullet don't come through your tent.
Jesse, I did speak with a few individuals who live at this encampment, and they did mention that they know the individual and say he lives in a tent just behind me here. They were nervous to go on camera just because of safety concerns, and there still is no yet. It's not known yet, Jesse, sorry, the victim's condition as of yet.
A packed Sarnia courtroom heard tear-filled victim impact statements from the family of David Oliver. The 29-year-old was hanging out with a younger friend smoking a joint along Army Camp Road at Kettle and Stony Point First Nation when things turned deadly. It was in July of 2020 that he would be shot twice in the head and his body dragged into a nearby field. The person responsible wouldn't be arrested for years, but in September of 2024, and after several interviews, the OPP tracked down the killer, only to find out he was 16 years old at the time. Because of that, he cannot be identified under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. In the summer, the man, now 21, pled guilty to second-degree murder for the killing, which was described as senseless. In her victim impact statement, Oliver's mother, Carla, was sobbing, saying, "My heart is broken, and I know it will never be the same as before David was murdered." Fearful over his eventual release, she said he may be a young offender, but handled what he did as an adult. There is no guarantee he won't do it in the future. Because of his age at the time, both the Crown and defense submitted a joint sentence recommendation of 4 years in jail, followed by 3 years community supervision. The 21-year-old has apologized to the family for his actions. He is expected to be sentenced on November 12th. Nick Paparella, CTV News.
Peel Regional Police forensic officers searched the front yard today for any evidence in connection with last night's shooting. Neighbors report more than half a dozen shots rang out around 10:30 p.m. at this home on Clifton Court. That's near Sandalwood Parkway and Huron, Ontario.
Initially sounded like firecrackers, but as soon as you stop to think about it, it was so flat. It's what it's what gunfire is. Supposed to sound like.
When police arrived on the scene, they found a 37-year-old man suffering from gunshot wounds. He was rushed to hospital in critical condition. He has since been listed in stable condition. No one else in the home was injured. The motive for the shooting remains under investigation. There are several high-end vehicles parked in the garage and on the driveway of the home. There are also several security cameras, including a large camera installed on the front yard. In a statement, Peel Regional Police say, quote, "At this point, it is unknown whether the incident was targeted. However, investigators believe this to be an isolated occurrence, and there is no known threat to public safety." This longtime neighbor says the gun violence is unsettling.
It's really scary because I moved in this house in 1986. Since then, was a so quiet area, so was a so nice area.
There is no word on any possible suspects. Peel Regional Police is asking anyone with information or security camera video to contact them. John Musselman, CTV News in Brampton.
Outside Woodruff Public School, signs reading "Save our safety cameras," sending a clear message to the province to slow down.
We should not break what's working. We have something that works now, and we should just keep it in place.
Bouchard's child attends the West End School just off Woodruff Avenue, a busy stretch of road where a camera monitors drivers' speeds.
At this very location, we know that compliance is only 77%, and in the short time that the camera has been installed, it's shot up to 88%, so it's making a real difference.
We walk to school or bike to school every single day. I would love for my children to be able to do that independently when the time is right, but I cannot trust this government to keep my kids safe.
But the camera on Woodruff, along with every other one across the city, are set to be turned off.
There's other ways to combat this rather than punishing pocketbooks, and that's what we really want to focus on.
Despite calls to keep photo radar in school zones, the provincial government has introduced legislation to ban them across the province.
We're seeing that it's not effective in some of these areas. That's prevented 100% of the time by ensuring that there's speed bumps, other traffic calming measures that reduce the speed at the point of a car entering into one of these zones.
The demonstration in Ottawa, part of a province-wide day of action organized by parents, counselors, and road safety advocates.
The amount of volume of traffic that's going to go through here isn't going to go down. It's going to remain high because of the type of road that it is. And trying to assure speed control using other interventions simply just won't be as effective.
Doug Ford should go to a parent council meeting and listen, because that's where we're hearing it from. Parents care about their kids. They want their kids to be able to walk to school, and they're worried about them crossing roads.
Ottawa currently has more than 60 automated speed cameras, most in community safety zones near schools and playgrounds.
I need him to explain to us why fines for bad behavior, fines for breaking the law is a problem in this area and not in others.
For Bouchard, she says the province should work with municipalities, not against them, when it comes to road safety.
A blanket ban is very, very ill-conceived because this is one of the traffic control measures that actually has the most data proving just how effective they are.
The bill, if passed, will end the use of municipal speed cameras and instead focus on alternative traffic calming measures such as speed bumps and roundabouts, as well as enhanced signage.
Police say the remains have not yet been formally identified as Paveo's, but their investigation leads them to believe they are connected to the case and are believed to be his. At a media conference on Friday, Staff Sergeant Joe Fadoul of the Windsor Major Crimes Unit described the investigation as one of the most daunting he's ever worked, noting the absence of a body has made charges difficult, but he says investigators believe Mr. Paveo was killed on or around August 14th. 2 suspects have already been charged. On October 15th, 54-year-old Shane Laddiser was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and indecent interference with the deceased body. And 49-year-old Marie Christine Hanna was charged with accessory after the fact to murder and indecent interference. Investigators continue searching for a third person known only by the name Colin. He's described as a white male in his late 20s, about 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a rose or flower tattoo on the back of his hand. He is known to frequent Windsor's West End and downtown areas. Police say they believe the homicide took place at a home at 1057 Felix Avenue in Windsor. The property remains under forensic examination. As for the scene in Northern Ontario, the OPP conducted a search in a wooded area north of Kirkland Lake in response to leads that developed during the investigation in Windsor. Investigators were not available to provide an interview today, but the case remains very active, and police say the public's help is crucial. Anyone with information is asked to contact Windsor's Major Crimes Unit or anonymously through Windsor and Essex County Crime Stoppers.
The price of gas in Saskatchewan has many residents breathing a sigh of relief.
We've gone away from summer blend gasoline to winter blend gasoline. That's a savings of about 9 or 10 cents a litre. And that's one of the main reasons why we've seen prices drop. The Canadian dollar has strengthened a tiny bit until very recently, where it's weakened again.
This combination of factors has gas prices sitting as low as $1.08 per litre in Saskatoon and $1.17 in Regina, according to GasBuddy.com. For those who spoke with CTV, the drop in price was a pleasant surprise.
I have to fill up when we need because you have kids in 7 different activities, but do try and save money where we can.
Well, I filled up just the day before that the prices went down. So I'm sitting here with a full tank of gas.
We need to fill up the tank right away, and if knowing that it's cheap prices, might as well do it now.
It's not going to make a difference. If I pay attention to it, it's not going to make it go lower, and it's not going to make it go higher. But I have to have gas, and so I just pay it.
McTagg says prices are likely to increase later in the week due to a production issue in the United States last Friday.
In the Chicago refinery area, where BP's Whitting plant had a fire, and that sent gasoline futures up about 20 cents a gallon, good for about an 8 cent a litre increase. So we haven't seen that baked into the price yet. We may very well get that if things don't turn around quickly.
McTagg also shared some advice for folks looking to save on their fuel, regardless of the time of year.
In many cities across Canada, the best deals are in the evening after 6 p.m. That's because gas stations often make enough money to cover their costs for the day, so they shed those retail margins.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Butterfield Acres is now closed after AHS issued a formal closure order Friday amid a bird flu outbreak. The petting farm saying on Facebook, Butterfield Acres is temporarily closed to the public following confirmation of avian influenza in 2 of our birds. This decision was made in consultation with federal and provincial animal health authorities to protect the health and safety of all our animals, staff, and community. There are another 7 suspected cases at the farm. CTV News did make numerous attempts to contact Butterfield Acres, but we received no response. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency and Butterfield Acres won't say how many birds have been culled due to the outbreak there, but as of October 15th, Ottawa counts more than 2 million killed from infected flocks in Alberta. The risk for human infection of avian flu is low.
Most of the time when people get this infection, they get quite mild symptoms, and they have things like that look like pink eye, so they get conjunctivitis, inflammation of their eyelids.
Dana Goldsmith, a veterinarian pathologist, says avian influenza cases have been on the rise in Alberta since the beginning of September.
We don't know why yet. Any infection can be very dependent on what's going on in the environment, so it could be environmental conditions.
Anyone who visited the petting farm between October 6th and 12th and has flu-like symptoms is asked to contact HealthLink at 811 for assessment and testing. On Monday, the Calgary Zoo announced it was moving its birds indoors and closing avian exhibits due to bird flu in close proximity. The CFIA says Butterfield Acres is the only active case in the Calgary region. Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Calgary.
The month-long trial of a man accused of second-degree murder of Misha Pavlik is now underway at the Court of King's Bench here in Regina. Pavlik was 19 years old when he was fatally stabbed during a graduation party near Last Mountain Lake in spring of 2006. The man now accused of second-degree murder in connection with Pavlik's death cannot be identified, as he was a youth at the time of the crime. After selecting 14 jury members in the morning, 2 of which will be excused before deliberations begin, the Crown presented its opening statement, sharing what the jury can expect to hear from witnesses over the next few weeks. The Crown telling members Pavlik was at a party with around 200 people in attendance when a group of individuals showed up, including the accused, saying it believes the jury will come to learn the group was not invited to the party and their arrival changed the mood of the event, leading to multiple fights that allegedly happened that night, which witnesses will speak on in addition to evidence presented in court. Adding, the Crown's opening remarks are not evidence of the case itself. Over the course of the 4-week trial, jurors will hear from as many as 47 witnesses. The second day of trial will start with the defense's opening statement. Witnesses are expected to take the stand shortly after here at Court of King's Bench. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
No justice, no peace.
Family and supporters gathered outside the courthouse this morning to be a voice for 14-year-old Samuel Bird, the teen who disappeared June 1st and whose remains were found last week.
Justice for Samuel Bird!
So I thought it was very important we come here to support the family.
I am grateful for everyone that showed up today. I'm really happy. It makes me happy to see all the support.
The man accused of killing the teen, 38-year-old Brian Farrell, was scheduled for a bail hearing. A lawyer appeared briefly on his behalf, and the case adjourned to another date.
I didn't expect nothing much of it today. I just wanted to see his face, see him, but he didn't come on the screen. You know, I just wanted to see if I should call him an animal or what, I don't know what to call him, but I wanted to see his face.
Farrell is facing more than a dozen charges in relation to Bird's death, including second-degree murder and interfering with a body. Lawyer Graham Rapson, who is not affiliated with the case, says the Provincial Court of Justice doesn't have jurisdiction to decide Farrell's bail.
Only superior courts can deal with bail in relation to charges that are listed under Section 469 of the Criminal Code. Typically, the only charge that really is relevant to is murder. So typically it will just go into provincial court more for scheduling purposes.
Even though it's a process that will take time, Barbara Houle hopes the support continues.
We still have to keep supporting Alana and her family while they go through the court system now.
Farrell will remain in custody. His next appearance in provincial court is November 10th. Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Edmonton.